Hey, hello guys, this is Black Ice here. We are again back with another technical project, a small project which I had been doing from some time actually. I had done this probably 2 weeks ago and I had kept it there and I did not go back. I was busy in something else. So I thought, why not give it a shot, during this crisis, coronavirus crisis and lockdown. This is like a hobby which I picked up, building some small applications on the way and whichever it's kind of like building anything, whichever language or whichever UI stuff you find comfortable with, right? So yes, so here I built a small coronavirus tracker. It's very simple. There is nothing much here. It's just identifying the number of cases which has been logged or what do you say, identified, and just printing it out. See, you can find the number of confirmed cases, or you can find it based on the state and country. You can identify the number of cases which has been logged, right? So all of this data, the number of recovered, yeah, and number of death. You can find everything here. It's just a basic hobby which I've picked up, which you know helps you just develop a skill. It's good, you can even add it into your resume and it helps you in future also. So let's get into it. I mean, yes, right, let's get into it first. Yep, here we go. Basically, I built this in Spring Boot and React.js. Let's shut down the server first. I'm gonna go through everything again. Mhm. So, basically, I was going to, you know, record this by record the building process of it, but I couldn't do it, so I thought, why not make it a video afterwards and then explain how I built this, right? So yes, here basically I just started begin with Spring Boot backend application with fetching the data from particular Git site, which stores the data, which updates the data uh, day, every day, constantly the data has been updated there, which, I mean, it's just the data which I found. I mean, I'm not saying this is the perfect data or this is the actual data. It does get updated, right? Every day you cannot get every second update here. So yes, this is nearly accurate, but yes, it is good. I mean, good data which I found. Let me just share you the site where you can see this data. Give me a second. Yes, if you just go into the Chrome and you find this, right? There's a GitHub repository which has got the data for COVID-19, and you can see here it gets updated. If you see this, see it's updated like 10 hours ago, so it's kind of everyday updation has been done here. So you can find everyday data which can be found. There are particular sheets which has got present data, something like that. So if you go to, okay, let me just get to the, see this, no, not this, where is it? Let's go, data, yeah, this is where we came from. M series, and is that it? Let's see. I don't think this is it. This is old. This looks like an old one. No, not this one. Where did it go? Hmm. More data, just time series. Hmm. Time series and oh yeah, here it is. I just went through this. I didn't I didn't think of looking back at it. So this is where you get the recovered data, the death. I mean, it's both global and US. I'm basically built it for a global data. So you can just, I mean, you can just, all you have to do is provide a link to the US data and it automatically pass it and build the application. Because all the table columns are similar. I mean, you'll understand as soon as, I mean, uh, when the video moves forward, because I will go through the code and we can identify how the application passes the data. So here we got recovered, here we got deaths, here we got confirmed kills. I mean, it's very basic data with certain columns. If you get in there, see it's still getting uploaded, it's just uploaded now. So here we go. Here we got for every country, for latitude, longitude, it's in a particular province or state. We got the, you see, the date wise, and this is the recent one, right? Where did it go? So this is 1st of May, that is yesterday. So based on yesterday's data, we have all this data, right? See, this is the data which we got from yesterday. So we have all the data here, and yes, so we got the data. So what we do is we come here and we just start building a new Spring Boot application. Just go to File, New, and say Spring Start a Project. So it's going to build its structure for you. Very basic dependencies. If you're thinking about dependencies, you can come here, and yes, here we go. Very basic dependency: Spring Boot Starter Actuator, Spring Boot Starter Web, Spring Boot Dev Tools, Common CSV. This is just to pass the CSV data which you're gonna get from the Git, and start a test. I don't think this is necessary, but still. JUnit is not necessary again. Spring Boot Maven plugin. So yes, that's just the very basic dependencies which I got there. And if you look into how, I mean, I just built it in MVC structure. There's a controller and there's a model and there's a view which is from React side. So I mean, I could have built just a basic model view controller in of Spring, Spring MVC structure, and then showed it here itself. But I thought, why not integrate React to it? Because recently, you know that React has been blowing up and a lot of scope in React. So I just built a very basic, uh, you know, UI from React, which just picks the data and shows it out. So if you look into I mean, from the beginning, I began with building the backend first. So here I just built a controller with 4 different endpoints. This particular endpoint has not been built yet. I've built it, but I probably should do some updation to it. So I just left it out there. And these three are working fine. This endpoint is for getting confirmed corona cases. This one is for death, and this one is for recovered. So if we just look into the service for it, there's a service file which is going to get the URL, which I made it as a static URL at the beginning. So this URL, let me show you. You can go into here and then you say raw. This is the data you got. So this is the URL which you have to get. So this is the URL for the recovered data. So it gets here. So this URL and that URL should match. So I just have all the three URLs here. And what I do is I get that URL. I, I store it in a particular variable saying this is the confirmed corona case URL. And I just pass that URL to this uh, generic method, which has the ability to pass data, acquire the data from Git and pass it and then send it back into this generic DTO which I built, which stores the basic corona data. Let's go with uh, wait. What we'll do is we'll just go through the structure of the data first. I mean project first, that we'll understand beginning. This is just what do you say? Just a starter which you get. This is like a job runner which you get as soon as you build a Spring application. Based on this, we have DTOs, we have enums. Enums is basically I've used for what do you say? When we are sending or let me just show you what it is. Just to get the headers, just to pass the data, we're gonna need the headers. So I just built these enums saying that these are the data which I'm gonna get from the Git, right? So yeah, we got enums, we got the REST controller, we got the service. It's just an interface saying what are the methods we got in service IMPL, and we got the utils. Util is for processing or whatever builder is passing of the data. So it's gonna parse the CSV data which we get from that gate and then send it back to the DTOs. So we got all DTOs. This is generic DTO. This is confirmed corona data. This is for complete DAM, which is not yet built, but DTO is built, but the not complete service is not been built yet. So we're not gonna go in there. There's recovered and that, and this is a basic one, right? So if we get back to the rest, if we get back to the flow of how it goes, right? This is where we came from. Let's just say I'm hitting this confirm corona case. It comes here, and this is service, and it's got implementation. We come here, it fetches a URL, and then it passes into this generic method, which comes here, which is in the CMS service IMPL, which gets the URL, it opens the connection for that URL, and it says what is the response we got from the URL. And if the response is positive, that is 200, then we say yes, we got the output, and then say we are gonna say process this, get it into a stream because CSV data, so get it into a stream, and then send it to a processor, which is in a util file, which is going to process it. Here we go, and then he got the input writer, string writer, initialized here, and then we got the input stream. We're gonna pass this stream into input stream reader, and it will read it and put it into a reader here, which is comes into a reader format, which will help us into pass the data every by every bit, every letter, every character. You can pass the data. So you pass the data into here, into the while loop. Every character you parse it, and then you put it into the input stream, not input writer. Where, so you have the data input writer now, and now you can convert it into string, and you can return back the data. If nothing's there, if you didn't get any data from there, then you say no, no contents come up, so it will just be sent back. So we got that data, we're gonna send it to string reader because we got the string here. We're gonna pass it to string reader, and then we're gonna again pass it from CSV format because it's still string in a CSV format. So we're gonna pass it into an iterable using which, excuse me, using which we can again loop over it and then get all the data based on the enums which I've created. So it's gonna say if the header is this, header is province or street. When I say province or street, it's gonna come here and say if the header is province or state, and it's gonna set the state as that value which you find in that header, right? If you're gonna say it's country or region, then it's gonna get the value which is in that row for that column, for the country region column, for that data, it's gonna set in the case. So I created a list here. So we're gonna add every data which I get from get into a list and return back that list. So we have all the data in a list sent back here into a uh, generic generic DTO which I've created. So from there, what we're gonna do is set it into the particular or the specific data which the user has asked for. So he has asked for confirm corona case. So I create a DTO here. And we have a list ready for it. We're gonna get that data and get from the generic data and then set it into the specific data here and add it into a list and then send back again to the controller. So we get back to the controller, and here we got all the list data completely in here, and it's going to return back to the screen. When it's going to return back, I've mapped it as at the rate REST controller. So basically what the at the rate REST controller does is it's going to convert the data into a JSON format, into REST-based format, and then display it into the screen. So if it's all I have to do is hit the URL for this data which has been hosted here, and then hit this URL slash URL hyphen port number slash this endpoint. So it's gonna open the JSON, I mean the plain page with the JSON data sent from here. It's gonna return the whole data which has been passed and then put it into a list and then send it back as a JSON response to the screen. Why I built it as a REST controller? Because I'm gonna need this data to be sent to the React page, which is gonna accept it there and then pass it into a table and then display to the user. right? Basically we can also build it as a model here and then just show the table or any particular structure you want it to the screen directly here. That's one way of doing it, but also you can do it in this way. If you want to have another uh, language or a component for your UI, then you have to pass it in either JSON or any particular language which the React accepts, or any particular UI based component accepts, and then you have to pass it there, and that's gonna do the remaining task. So basically, even this the whole backend process that is good enough to display the whole data, but just to convert it into a good looking structure, we have built the React there. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna just start the Spring Boot application here. You just go there, run a Spring Boot app. So it's gonna start the application. It will be hosted in localhost and 8080. Started gonna start a pack. So what we have to do, go to Crow and then say localhost 8080. So we have nothing in 8080 hosted because we have it hosted in the confirm corona cases, right? We already have it here. We hit it, and that's gonna hit the Git page in the backend, and it's gonna get all the data. And this is the list of all the data in JSON format, right? State, country, and latest confirmed cases is a number which we got from there, right? Oh, let me just show you the DTO which we have built, which is gonna show you here's the DTO, right? This is the tree data which we are gonna pass and which we have passed and set it into. So we have all the data in these three objects, which is made into a list, and we have it here, right? So we have all the data here, which is sent from the Git, a lot of data here, right? So yes, you can even see for confirm case, you can see for death, corona case, you can see all the data coming up from the Git. So this is the backend which I have built. So now let's go to the React, right? Here React, let me just stop the server. Oh, what did I do? Yep, oops, yep, I stopped it. And yes, we have the React here. Uh, I This is very generic structure of React or generic way of building a React project. I followed the same process where I just go to uh, I just install a node manager, npm or node.js in my system, and then what I did was created a React application by using a command of npx create react app space the React application name. So it just creates you the whole React with a bundle of dependencies or packages which is gonna get. So we have all the packages in here in node modules. You can find all the packages which has been loaded by itself. We can also add any extra requirements if we have by just using the command of npm install and any particular dependency which you want, right? So yes, this actually I followed the whole architecture of Flux. So I have built the store, I built the dispatcher, I built the action, event dispatchers, and then we have all components based which I have made here, right? So basically a React application, as soon as you begin a React application, you can find the, there is an app.js which will have certain content which if you remove and then you fill it with any particular content you want. So this div, between this div, if you fill whatever you want, that's gonna be displayed in the screen. So here what I did was I created a router. This is a React router. So what I did was all you have to do is perform npm install router React router DOM React router DOM and press enter. So it's gonna install all the dependencies for React router. What basically React Router does is it routes you to the particular path. As soon as a user hits particular URL, it's gonna say user has hit this URL, so go to this. particular component and return whatever is rendered in their page, right? So that is how this works. So I've built a simple single URL structure here. So it's gonna just go to the home page. I've already installed the React Router DOM, which I have it here, and then imported router and route from the React Router DOM here. So no packages will be installed yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna stop it and I go forward. And here I said go to the home page. So let's just go to the home page. Well, before that, let me just show you the structure which I followed here. So inside the source, there'll only be app.js. I built the whole structure for it, for the components here. So if you guys go to the pages, here is the home page, which has the component. We have page level components like content, footer, and header, and we have element level components like table, data table, or button. And then we got a dispatcher, which is for the Flux architecture, and then we got an action. And what else we got? We got service, which here we got the call to the backend. So I just made it as a separate component saying this is a service and we have a fixed URL here and the later URL will be sent by the user or sent by the backend. So we just fill it up here and then get the response. I use the Axios concept for calling the backend API. So yes, that's here. And then we got the store, which is there's a single store here, which is used for fetching the data and storing it there. So if you go from the app.js, right, basically we go to the home page first. As soon as user hits the URL, it comes to the home page and it's gonna show the header. There's nothing much here, it just is text saying it's a coronavirus tracker. So that's it. And then we come here, we go to the content. Content's got a lot of thing. We'll go here later on. Let's just show you the footer. Footer has nothing but just a text and a link to my YouTube channel. So yes, and we got a content here. If you get in the content, we have all the import data dependencies here. This is a components I've built out of components here, which every particular element in a page is a component, and every particular uh, page acts as a component. So yes, this I've imported the button component, I imported the data table component which I built, and action and store. And what the content we have is there will be a constructor which is gonna have the state. Basically, how React works is any change to a state, it's gonna re-render the page, re-render whatever it's showing, right? State is basically how there are two concepts in React, which is state and props. Props is basically the property of the component, and state is determining what particular state that React component is at the moment. So any change to the state at any time, the change to state will re-render the whole component. So what do you mean by re-render? It's gonna run this render method again. So this is gonna have all the data which we are gonna show into the screen. Show in the screen. So yes, that's one thing. And if you look at the constructor, we got state, which has certain variable which has been set, which will be used later on based on the data. Is data available? Let me just give you the confirm here. Right? This data, this is where all the data is gonna get stored from the API call which you hit to the backend. Right now it's empty, so it's React is showing nothing. There's nothing there unless there's a call. This will be filled up, and so the state has been updated. So we're gonna show the data. That's how it works, right? And is data available is just to say if we got any data, if there is anything, then just show. That's the thing. And there's case data type. This is basically I've built this flag just to show what type of data we're getting, either confirmed, either dead or recovered, just to keep it a flag of it so that we can use it anywhere we want. And then we got component will mount. So we'll come to this later on. What we'll do is we'll go to the flow, and the first thing which we see is a render method. So whatever user sees, it comes from here. So in a render method, we have a table which is in a particular division, and it's a component which I built. Uh, this is a thing which you can say is still under progress because I've built this by myself. I mean, the whole structure and design, everything is built by myself. We can even use React table or Bootstrap table here. which I try to import it because of some issues in my node manager or Node.js. Yes, I'm not able to completely import my any of these React table or Bootstrap table. So yes, I built the whole thing by myself here. I mean, you can also follow this. It's very basic HTML structure, HTML, JSX, or uh, React structure, which you can use. Like all you have to do is return any particular type of object or any particular type of JSX, right? So I'm returning a table here, the table contents, id, and all the data here. So yes, let's go back to the content. And this will be rendered only if there is any data here, right? If this dot state has any data, only then it will be rendered, otherwise there won't be anything. You wanna say if the data is available, only then show the data, otherwise don't show anything, right? And we got these buttons which is gonna call the backend, which is triggering an event for performing an action, which is gonna call the backend API, which is gonna hit the backend API to get the data. So if you look at any particular one, right, a corona death, so there's a method call on click of this. I mean, this is also a custom made component. If you look into the button, it's very basic. I just use the basic button, and then what I'm gonna say, whatever the property dot value which I'm gonna get from the screen. When I say property dot value, it's the value whichever I send here, right? It's whatever value I send here. I'm gonna set that into the content inside the button, right? This is the content which you see inside the button, and whatever for the on click which I send from the screen, I'm gonna set it into on click method of the button. And it's an inbuilt function which we get, right? So yes, it's so whenever we press an on click we go to this method which is built, which is written in the same class itself or same JS itself. If you look here, this is gonna call the action, which says get the date case. So we got an action here which has got all the API calls. It's gonna call perform a particular API call, and then say with what type of method. It's like get, post, or delete, or put we can do, right? So I'm basically doing getting the data. So I'm gonna say API service dot get. API service is again a custom made component. You can either directly call the Axios. We're gonna see how the Axios works in a little bit, but you can call directly that, or you can build a component for it and then say hit this URL uh, in Axios using this method, right? You're gonna say get it. So here is the Axios working, right? It's gonna say it will come to the get method and then say axios.get. This is a pre-URL. When you say pre-URL, I built a pre-URL saying yeah, this is the pre-URL. So it's gonna say the backend is running in this host, this location, or this URL. So go there and then hit this URL. This URL is coming from the screen, not the screen coming from the button, whichever event you are triggered, right? It's either death corona case or confirm corona case. So whichever you got, it's gonna say this slash that. So that will trigger the JSON response which we were seeing from the backend. So it will trigger that one, and then we're gonna send a response back. This is uh, so this how this works is whenever this Axios will say get this data. As soon as you get this data, send the response back, return the data back to the wherever this method is called. If you don't get any data, then just send the error response. In error response, you're gonna say do nothing, right? In the response, if it's 401, then out of access. This is just URLs which it's gonna go and then say show this URL if there is nothing coming up, right? And if you go back here, you say yes, we are here, we were in action, we got this, we got all the data here. So this is like you got all the data, then you perform this. It's like you this particular method, let's say if we do have the data, you check if it is not null, just to verify if we have the data. If we do have the data, then trigger this you just have to dispatch this. This is how the flux works, right? You dispatch something from an action. Based on whatever dispatch, the store will act and store will say something has been dispatched with this particular data. So store it and then perform a change to some particular component state, right? So that's gonna re-trigger the render method. That's how it works. So this is gonna perform retrieve that case data. We have done this. With this data has come up from there. So if you go to the store, if you just look into the store, there's a store. Yep, here we got the store. So this is retrieved at case data. It comes here. Here we got the store built with a handle event. So whatever action comes there, it is gonna. I mean, we have registered the dispatcher and we have registered the store here. So we have all this set, and we are checking here whatever action has been triggered. We have triggered retrieved case data from the screen. So we are gonna go to this case. In switch case, we're gonna have all the triggered store events. So we come here and then we say this is a triggered event now. So perform this one and then break from this loop. So this is gonna get go to this particular method with this data. This data is coming from the action, which is all the data coming from the backend. So we come here and then we say set this data, whatever data you got, into the stores data. Store data is empty in the beginning. We have nothing here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna set there all the data which came from there into the store data, and then we're gonna emit this is like a signal which we are gonna send back to the uh, component whichever is listening to the particular store. I'm gonna show you how the component is listening. So if you go to the content in the component will mount, this guy is listening to this. See, they on the data store dot on whatever particular thing has been sent from the store. So here we're gonna emit death case received, death case data received from here with the store data as this guy, right? So we have store data set with the data, and we are sending a signal to this death case data received. So the component which is listening to the store will say, oh yeah, I got a message from the store saying this death case data received. So whenever the component will mount, when it, what do you mean by component will mount? That means before doing anything, before component is rendered, all what the function whichever runs as component will mount. So this method, what it does is it will check if anything has to be updated to the state so that before rendering, any changes has to be performed. Basically, the data from there has been sent here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the state here because we got the data, we have the new data, so we have to re-render the component. So what we're gonna do, we're changing the state. We're gonna say this state data was nothing before, so we're gonna set the data with the, whatever the store data which you have. I just build a basic small method in store which say return the store data. Store data has been filled with the data which we got from the backend, so that will be stored into the data here. So we have set the state with the data which we got from the backend. So we have change state here, and we're gonna say the data is available. Yes, we got the data, and then we say what the case data type. What is the type of data? We got it as dead corner case. So give me a second. So we have dead corona case. So oh, what just happened? So if you got the get corona case, so we just say render this data because we just changed the state. We have everything set in the state, and we are gonna see this will trigger the re-render of the data or this component. So we are gonna re-render this one. But right now, at this moment, we have the data is available. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna call this table with the state. So this state has the data filled. Yes, we got the data filled. We got the data available as true. Case data type as death corona case. So we're gonna come here and we're gonna send this data into the data table. This data table, we got all the data here. So we're gonna say whatever has been sent from there. We got what is in the props. We got in the props we have this dot state. So state is gonna have state has got the content. State has got data for it, case data type. It got content dot data. It got content dot is data available. So we're gonna use that data here. We're gonna set what type of data we got. Right now we have this one is that case. So we're gonna say is that case will be true. So this is a if condition, right? We're gonna say if this equal to this, then send it as true. So these both are false and this is true. And this is just a flag which I use just to number the table, whichever comes out, just to for counting the number of data which we got, right? And here we got the mapping of the data. So we have the whole data for multiple number of people. So what we're gonna do, we have to map it. When I say map it, we're gonna have to put a loop on it and then say uh, for every particular person, just loop over this, loop over the data, and then say for every particular person, display the data contents of the data. What is happening here is for every particular person, map over the corona data whichever we got, come inside, and then return the table body. Why table body? Because we have the table and the table header has been already structured before itself, and the table data, see this whole content is set into a table data. This data is what we are going to set inside the content of table body of the table. So we have the table heading set here, and I say this is the headings which we are going to get, and this is the content which we are going to get. For the content we come here, and then we say just number everything. So we're going to number it like 1 2 3 synchronously. And then for the second thing, we have the state or country. So we're going to set the country, and for state what we're going to do is we're going to just pass if state not equal to null or not equal to empty, then you say corona state, we have the state value. If we don't have the state value, then you pass empty. And what is this? This is just to format like country, and then inside the bracket we're going to say state. So this is saying nothing, this is saying we have state, right? And then for the third column we have if it is, I mean, the number of cases which we got. For that, we have to check what type of case we got. So we have set it here. We are saying it is dead case. So we're gonna say if it is dead case, we come here. Like this is a ternary operator saying if it is confirmed case, display the latest confirmed cases. This is the number of data which we got the latest confirmed case. If it is recovered case, then return the latest one. If it is dead case, we're gonna return this one. So we got all the dead case data here, which will be returned in there. If you have nothing, then send nothing back. So we have the table which has been set, so that will be there. And this, we can use the React table or React uh, bootstrap table component, which, I mean, if you're using that one, then it's very simple to configure or create that one, because all you have to do is create a bootstrap table and then say this is the data for it, which we have passed from the props, and this is the heading for it, it's columns. We just have to create the column saying we just created a constant column saying this is the header and this is the accessor. Accessor will be whatever the value which we got from the screen, that is like this dot dot state dot country or something like that. That will be set here. It's the heading here, right? So yes, that is how the table will be displayed to the user, and the buttons will still remain the same. So that's it. That's how this has been showed. So let's just bring this guy up. Let me check. So I've started. Let me start the server. So I've been start. It's gonna get start. It's gonna take some time. We have the backend running here in port number 8080. So whenever if you're running the application, we're gonna need both of them up so that one thing will is gonna hit the another one. Another when I say I mean the React is going to hit the URL of backend to get the data, so you cannot run anything React component independently. It's not dependent on directly dependent only, but the thing is when you need data for it, you're gonna hit the URL, so it's gonna call back the backend and then say this is the data we need. Can you give me the data? So for that we need the backend app. So yes, we got this kind of app. So see this guy re-renders it automatically. Now I say localhost 3000. Oh, sorry about that. Localhost 3000. So we got the data here. So we got three particular buttons here saying This is you want confirmed case, you want recovered case, or do you want dead case? I'm gonna click on dead case. And I say what is the country, what's the number of cases, just a number there. And if you have any particular state from in the get page, it's gonna say this is a state which you have found for this, and this state has this is a number of cases which has been found. This is the number of death we can found. So let's just verify if we even have an approximate data, right? Here it says Afghanistan has 68 data, 68 death cases. So if I just check for it, um, death from corona in Afghanistan, this says death is 72. So nearly there. Probably should be updated for some. So we don't have the perfect data, but we still have the nearby data saying that this is the number of cases. This has to be updated. Probably it will get updated today. So this has not been updated for today. It has been updated for yesterday. So probably it's because there's three more cases which has come up in Afghanistan. That's a possibility, right? So we have the data for death, and here we got saying death for recovery. So this is a number of recovered data. Right? This is a number of people who have recovered from corona, and this is a number of people who got which is confirmed cases in all the countries, right? You can find all the data here. So it's very simple. I mean, it looks a bit huge in the beginning, but I think it's very basic concepts here. It's very uh, ground level, uh, very basic structure or very basic way of programming which you have to do. Yeah, that's it. I just have an application here. So it's just great to build, in when you're already in lockdown. So this is a good hobby if you can do. I mean, it's just a weekend hobby. It's just take probably around uh, 4 or 5 hours max if you're new to this. Uh, I mean, it took me like 2 hours to build this whole application, but it's very simple. So yes, you can build the whole application, and you can even try and host it in your any particular domain, or just say this is data. I mean, show to your friend saying you have built an application, you can identify data, you don't have to go anywhere to look for the data or anything as such, right? So yeah, that was a video. Hope you guys liked it, and hope you guys are safe again. And thank you for watching, I guess. And bye. And oh yeah, I think I forgot. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.